Okay, so it is 10:31 on Monday, November 9, and this is the, I think, sixth edition of Disco. Uh, we have a few topics for today. We have the general progress update from our team, and then we'll have open mic. No, then we have Mark actually, who has to talk about his proposal of switching to Bootstrap. And then we'll have open mic and see if anyone has any questions, suggestions, etc. So let's start.
I don't have much to say. The last couple of weeks, notably, it improvements to screen sharing in Firefox, and now you can switch between the camera and the screen without any problems, and that's about it.
I would just ask everyone who is not talking to mute, please. Thank you. Thanks, Boris. George, we've all been waiting. Let's keep George for the end. Let's keep George for the end. How
Okay, so recently we have fixed on Friday a lip sync issue. I'm not sure if it's on me yet.
on me, Jitsi?
No,
On me, Jitsi, it's not.
So it should be on beta now for testing.
So we have someone who claims not to hear anything. Lucy, does everyone hear us fine? Everyone else? Maybe it's a test. No, I think audio is working. I just joined again and it worked for me. So Lucy, it might be something with your own setup. I'm sorry. So Pablo, you were saying you fixed the lip sync issue. By the way, that was something we were looking together with Brian and the folks from High Five. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about the fix.
So the fix is based on merging audio and video streams, and right now it's done on Coco. So the thing finds is sending to separate streams, audio and video, and Gcofo is modifying SSRC description so that they are containing the same stream by modifying MSADs of these SSRCs.
Mm-hmm.
But this might be a bit hacky, so in future we're going to use single stream, both audio and video on the client.
Yes, in that future when all software is going to be perfect.
And another thing we added is token authentication, which is aimed to be used with Jitsi. It allows you to use any kind of authentication you want, and when you authenticate your users, then you use algorithm to generate the token, and it basically authenticates your client with Prosody, and so that whole system knows that you're using the right client.
And I had a quick chat with Matt, by the way, who said that it should be very easy to add that authentication to anonymous as well, so that the server will be generating the names. So we might have a look at that as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thanks, Pablo.
I have added feedback button and feedback dialog on Hangout. This is only added in beta right now. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Okay, so
You should speak a little bit more loudly.
so the main progress in JS API libraries, audio levels should work now. There are some minor fixes that I have done. That's it. Should I repeat?
Did Did you guys hear Itu? Try repeating more loudly.
So now the audio levels are working.
In the JSAP.
Yeah, and that's it.
I heard someone told me that there was a bug where in a one-to-one call, so Ingo is saying you guys need to speak in the microphones directly. I cannot understand anything. So yeah, please make an effort. What Christos said is that he finished audio level support in the JS API, and I was about to say that someone complained that the JS API does not report the active speaker correctly when there are only two people. So sometimes, like when there are only two people, you should always be getting the other person as the active speaker, and that doesn't seem to be happening.
It should be because one of the fixes is that before reporting the event, I'm checking if this is the local user or not, and if it is local user, I'm just not reporting the active speaker event. So.
Well, apparently they are. Apparently they are having the problem, so we can talk about that after the call. Dimension?
I have fixed the problem with the deprecated DAPI media stream stops, ended and unended. This is we have started work with Hi5 on it, and now this is pushed and won't be a problem once the Chrome updates to version 47. And that's it.
So we are, for all these reasons, actually, we're planning an update on Meet Jitsi this week. We'll probably have an interruption of service at that point. We'll try to publish a message for those who are using Meet Jitsi. But you really shouldn't be using Meet Jitsi, and you should be deploying your own deployments out there. So don't complain too much. Now, George and Lubo have been working on simulcast. Do you guys, are you going to describe your parts separately, or is one of you going to describe both?
I'd like to come, I think that since the last call, we did talk about call stats, and then George will obviously describe simulcast because it's his thing. So I think that since the last community call that we had, the new thing is that we have CallStats.io submission of statistics from the video bridge to CallStats. And I don't know whether the feature on CallStats.io is public at the moment. It's testing for us. We can see statistics and graphs from different video bridges on the CallStats.io site.
And
we are working this week on adding not on even more statistics. Like we currently have the statistics that go through PubSub or the Calibri XMPP signaling channel, but we're gonna add more that are not in those statistics.
you mean the call-specific statistics?
Yes. We'll be working on this. So this isn't ready, and this is work in progress.
Yeah, and I remember you reported a problem to CallStats. Do you know if they looked at it already?
They said they're gonna look at it, but they haven't responded.
Okay, so currently it's still not working fully, right?
Well, it works for some time and then it stopped, but
Okay, but when it works, you see all the statistics being
Yes.
reported. And that issue where it wasn't reporting bandwidth, and
I'll
that's-
fix that.
that was a rounding issue?
It's a bit more complicated, but it was on our side.
Okay, all right. So simulcast,
Yeah.
are you guys doing a single?
Oh, no.
It would be unfair to describe
Well, you
Yeah,
can
it
just,
would be unfair for me to describe simulcast, so George is going to.
you can just say what Lubo did and.
Yeah, so it would be unfair for me to describe what you did, but since I have his permission.
Just speak more loudly, please.
Okay, yeah. So we have been working on simulcast. We're trying to get it up and working. We mainly worked on having an optimized layer drop detection because simulcast streams can can disappear without notice. I mean, Chrome can decide to stop the streams without notifying the bridge. So we need a good mechanism to detect those stream drops. And Lubo has been working on it. Basically, what we have been doing is expiring the high quality stream if we don't see packets. For example, 10 packets. If we receive 10 packets for the low quality stream, and we don't see any packet for the high quality stream, we expire the high quality stream. We say, oh, that stream has stopped. But we were doing this based on counting packets. And now we changed this. We changed it to count frames. So if you have not seen a high quality frame, and you have seen, like, for example, five low layer quality frames, that means that the high quality stream has been stopped. But okay, this didn't even this wasn't working as expected neither. And we have been trying to identify the problem, and the problem is that Chrome was sending padding packets that contain no payload in an effort to detect if it has additional bandwidth to send more, to increase the bit rate of the streams. So they're actually a detection mechanism to ramp up the streams. They're empty packets. They contain only padding. And this was messing with our optimized layer drop detection mechanism. So we fixed that. We have added code that detects those padding packets, and we ignore them now. And it seems that it's working good now. We have optimized the layer drop detection this way. The other thing that was Lubo's work. The other thing that we worked on was switching on keyframes and optimizing. Actually, optimized layer drop detection was the downscaling optimization, and we also worked in the upscaling optimization. So we are now switching on keyframes. We have modified our code to do synchronized switches so that we don't lose in our code. We eliminated the race conditions where a sender might be sending a keyframe, but due to race conditions, a receiver wouldn't get it because there are synchronous stuff going on in the bridge. So we now synchronize this, and the receivers, it's guaranteed that the receivers will not lose keyframes because of race conditions inside the bridge. But as the downscaling optimization, we have some problems here because even though we forward all the keyframes and we have this guarantee that the keyframes will be forwarded, it appears that keyframes for the same frame their timestamp differs. Sometimes the timestamp of a keyframe that's for the low quality stream or for the high quality stream has a timestamp older than what has been already sent, and that makes the receiver to drop the keyframe. Even if we forward the keyframe to the receiver will drop it because the timestamp is older than what the receiver has already seen. So we need to detect the situation and either don't switch if the keyframe has an older timestamp, which is not good because this is going to postpone the switching to the upscaling or the downscaling for 10 seconds or I don't know how much. It's until a new keyframe has arrived actually, or we
we need to implement some hackery to modify the timestamps until at least for a short period of time, until the timestamps have increased enough to not having to rewrite them. I think that's about it for simulcast. We also,
current state in terms of what remains to be done. You should probably mention that it's already committed. Is
absolutely, yeah. The code is committed. In libjitsi, all the modifications currently are being pushed to upstream master. So upstream is github.com/jitsi/libjitsi. And we are not committing yet to upstream master for simulcast. You can find all the code in my fork. So yeah, if you're interested, I can share the URL, but it's up there.
You can just say it.
Yeah, github.com/gpolitis/Jitsi video bridge, and you are going to find it in the simulcast branch. Emil is going to do some. He's going to write it down. In the process of fixing, in optimizing the downscaling and the upscaling, we have fixed also some other problems that were not, for example, in the RTCP termination, notably not in the RTCP termination and in the SRC rewriting. So, but those are minor things, and it's not worth it to mention them here. What remains to be done is fix this freezing in the upscaling caused by the old timestamps in the keyframes, and then we would like to have to be able to handle 3 layers, because our code currently handles only 2 layers, and those are the 2 major things that need to be done in order to have it.
So maybe the next community call would be hosted with simulcast enabled.
We hope to do so. Yes, this is the plan.
Let's cross our fingers. Okay, are there any questions so far on any of the things that we've said till now? I'll give you a second. Well, you can think about it some more. We're now going to move to the next part of this go. During the past weeks, actually, I remember Mark talking about this even maybe a year ago, making the case for making the switch toward Bootstrap. We actually already use a few parts of Bootstrap for the pop-ups, for example, in Meet. And Mark is now going to talk a little bit about why he thinks there should be more major refactoring to base everything in Meet on Bootstrap, what that is going to bring us in terms of functionality, how much effort it's going to require, and who is going to do the work. Mark?
All right, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me okay?
So we don't hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Actually, we don't hear you because my volume was down. So.
All right.
And does that mean that anyone asked any questions and I maybe didn't hear them because my volume was down? Well, I hope not. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
That's okay. All right, so just quick intro. So I'm here on a call. There's also Lucy, which is with us. And basically, I'll explain a bit more about the why we should do this. And Lucy's going to explain a bit more about the how, because he's actually started the work, and he'll explain that point. So let me give you a bit of context. So I work on my main project is called Tiki. It's been working on it for over a decade. And I've been following Emil and his work on Jitsi and been a long-time user of Jitsi. And when Jitsi Meet came out, I was really excited. This coming to the web part.
My work, because there wasn't much of that. Hopefully, you'll be following everyone else's work as well.
Yes, exactly. Basically, let me give the story with Bootstrap is it was started by Twitter basically as an internal, as a tool to harmonize the look and feel of all their internal applications. The problem they had is they would build new applications, and then the look and feel could be different, and it would be different to keep something consistent. And that's a typical problem in any big organization, where if you just change the logo and the branding, it takes forever for all the applications to change, and you have this discrepancy, and it's really not good. So basically, Bootstrap has become a sort of de facto standard for a style guide for web applications. And Bootstrap basically started it, and Twitter started it, and they worked for them, and they just put it online. They made it open source, obviously, and it was basically an overnight success. And it's the #1 project on GitHub with double the number of stars of the next one. And for us, being in web applications for all this time, we knew that there was a problem. We knew something needed, but we weren't the only ones. So when Bootstrap came along, everybody jumped on it. And now it's basically the de facto standard. In terms of statistics, we're talking something like over 13% of the top 1 million sites are using Bootstrap. So the designers know it. So it has all kinds of benefits. One of the things, obviously, is there's just familiarity. People know what it is and know how it works. It offers us responsive design, and that's the #1 problem right now I see is like Jitsi Meet is really awesome on the desktop, but when you go on a mobile device, it's very difficult to follow, to use the chat. So basically, that's why I proposed it. And at this point, well, we're not just proposing that it would be a good idea, but we're actually starting to work, and we're gonna upstream that if you guys like it.
Can you please talk a little bit about? You just said that using Jitsi Meet on mobile is inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please speak a little bit about how Bootstrap would make it more convenient?
Right. Well, at this point, we're more in implementation. How about Lucy comes in and tells us a bit more?
Okay.
Okay. Hello?
Hey there. Actually, is it Lucy or Lucci?
Lucy is okay.
Okay. Hey, Lucy. Meet you.
It's my nickname. So I'm working as a developer for the Tiki project for longer time, like more than 10 years maybe, or 10 years. And we switched to Bootstrap recently. So Mark asked me if I could try to implement the bootstrapification for Jitsi and bring some responsive layout to the project, because when you go on mobile, all the layout wasn't very prepared for the screen. So what is mainly the responsibility for the welcome screen. So you can easily type in the room name and log in to the room. So I've forked Jitsi Meet on GitHub and tried to implement the Bootstrap on it and make it more responsible when you go there from from your smartphone. So actually more about the index or about the welcome screen than the rest where we are now, because the rest is working somehow. Like when you are already in the meeting, it's all fine on the smartphone. Problem was the welcome screen. So I made the fork, and we already made some test server. Here's the fork link, and here is the link to the test server. Actually, it's not working when you log in. I've tried, but the Bootstrap on the welcome screen should be responsive now there. So yeah, it's just a couple of changes to the code, to the HTML code, and some changes in the CSS I made. And there are still several little issues, like when you go to the welcome screen in some Android browsers, I think it was Firefox, there is a horizontal scroll, and there is a little overlap of the reload icon, which I couldn't figure out why yet, but I think I will fix it later. If there will be some changes allowed to the user interface of the form, login form, and Chrome on Android doesn't scroll down. I just realized, and I just wanted to ask if the URL prefix is needed there in have it in the form, in the login form, because when you get longer URL, it doesn't fit when you are on the small screen. So I was wondering if the UI could be a bit reworked, so it can be done better maybe. Yeah, that's, I think if you go and test on your mobile phone, you can see the difference maybe if you compare those two welcome screens, like the one on meet.jitsi and the other one we have on the server, test server.
So you made a two-line field now? Or is it becoming automatically a two-line field?
Can you repeat the question?
Did you make the field a two-line field? Because I now see it on 2 lines. Or does it automatically?
Yeah, it wraps now. On the small screen, it wraps because, yeah,
Well, this part.
it doesn't fit when there is longer URL or something. So yeah, it's wrapping to 2 lines now. But
Yeah.
on the original, I think there was some overlap on or some mess of the login screen or login form.
So I
So
think
yeah, maybe yeah, you can see if it's a bit of improvement, and I will continue working on it, and if you like it, we can then ask for the pull request or.
so. First of all, thanks, Lucy, for starting that work. I'd like to understand. Do you believe that most? Let me put it another way. When I try to use Meet on mobile, the main problems that I'm having are really about just the fact that the layout is not meant for a mobile. So if I want to chat, if I want to show the toolbar, the buttons are too small, the chat field is too small. It doesn't display in a convenient way at all. Is Bootstrap Can Bootstrap help with any of those things? Maybe through because it's supposed to facilitate skinning. So I was wondering, can it help with any of these things? I mean, I assume someone would still have to do a theme for mobile. Is it more convenient to do so with Bootstrap, or it's roughly the same thing, or how do you think?
Well, to be honest, I didn't come so far to playing with the interface of the chat of the call, because I'm not sure yet how that it's composed together. If it's some JavaScript trickery or something. I've focused on the first welcome screen,
Okay.
And I didn't come too far to the interface of the Jitsi call.
And when you
So I cannot say how much Bootstrap can change it, but I noticed what you mentioned. I noticed that the chat is not very convenient to use on a small screen, and those other things. So yeah, I need to check it more
So,
or ask how it's done and so on.
well, Emil, just to answer a bit your question, that's actually one of the benefits of Bootstrap is this dual modes. If we go back to our experience in Tiki, we basically had from Tiki 7 to Tiki 12, where we're using jQuery mobile. And one of the challenges there is you end up having two
Mark, we lost you.
however, in Bootstrap, one of those things that's what it's made for. So if you use the right classes, the size of the text is going to make sense. Because yeah, if it's on a small screen, your buttons still need to be clickable.
So is that part
but
of it something that you guys would like to look into, or?
yes, for sure. So yeah, we want to make it so that someone is on a mobile phone and they could be just participants and it would be okay. I think something like the chat room, we could have something where since the screen is small, maybe the chat should be like under a pop-up or something, like a bit like in those menus where you'll have the little hamburger, where if you click on it, you get the chat, but then when you want to get rid of the chat, you click on the hamburger again and it closes.
Right, yeah. Well, it certainly does make sense to remove, to maybe even hide the video while we have it. So, okay. All right. Are there any questions here?
Yeah.
About Bootstrap?
So far, this experience on mobile, are there any other advantages of using Bootstrap? Like, could it help us to organize our UI code, maybe?
Mark, did you grasp the question?
Yeah, can you just repeat that?
The question was, apart from these advantages, is there anything else to Bootstrap? Like, can it help us enforce a better architecture, organize our code better? Do you think this is something that Bootstrap can help with, or is it entirely?
Well, yeah. Well, it helps there because that's a bit where it was designed, is that from a programmer's perspective, like you just need to respect the whatever is in Bootstrap, and then you don't have to worry about the rest. Like it's, of course, I mean the Jitsi interface is not there's not that many things, but think about it, as we improve and we add in more and more things over time, when you add stuff, you don't need to figure out like, okay, well, what am I going to do here in terms of design? You just use the classes that are, in the Bootstrap style guide. And that's going to change as well is right now we have a background where, let's say the chat is dark, it's white text on a dark background. But if we start to change that, you could end up with like white on white or black on black or some weird contrast, and then you can't see anything. Bootstrap takes care of those things, and then it's much easier to theme because we can use any theme, any Bootstrap theme that we can download.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Guys, think of this as something potentially implemented within Jitsi Meet, and you happen to code with it or around it. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask.
Well, I might have a question.
You have to speak more loudly.
Yeah. So, someone advised us yesterday to use also React JS or Angular, or how those, I'm not familiar at all with those. So are those,
Do they play nice with Bootstrap?
yes.
Well, I know a lot of people use them together. I've never used them, so I wouldn't say couldn't really give an educated answer, but I know that you see them all the time combined. because Bootstrap is sort of a de facto standard, even stuff that doesn't, use it, they often have like an option for it or an output for it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, this is Chris. I think I agree that they're complementary. We've been interested in the React stuff as well, but certainly from the CSS and responsive design stuff, Bootstrap is sort of the de facto standard. So I think it makes sense maybe to approach it from both angles.
So Chris, you're saying that to you, the move to Bootstrap alone also is something that seems good to you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
And it's gonna be fun because Bootstrap is from Twitter and React is from Facebook, so it kind of will be using the work of the giants in the web UI development, so it sounds like fun.
Step on the shoulder of giants, right? One thing I'd like to understand, and I really should look at the commit links that Mark and Lucy posted, but if you guys can give me an answer, that would be great. I'm interested in how heavy of a change is it? Are we refactoring all of the UI? Are these very specific punctual changes?
I'm worried that we're actually generating HTML in the code and it might cause some issues.
Yeah, but that's where React helps, because React is like a view model control architecture, so it should help separating those generations of stuff.
Yeah, there are mechanisms to fix that.
What did
Yeah,
you?
I hope to have it.
Yeah, I think if you use React and Flux for the general MVC type stuff and the general control of the application, that's different from the layout and those things. So Bootstrap is sort of the framework for how things are laid out versus how the application actually works, which is where maybe React and Flux are more appropriate.
Does that alleviate your concern, or you're still concerned? You're no longer concerned. So I'd still like to understand how big of a change is it to move to Bootstrap? Mark, Lucy? Anyone?
Actually, I had a question about, there's a lot of jQuery stuff in there. I'm assuming that's what you're sort of converting, right, to Bootstrap to allow for easier responsive design stuff. Is that a correct statement?
Can you repeat that, Chris?
I haven't looked at the code yet, but I'm assuming that you're basically replacing some of the jQuery layout stuff with Bootstrap. That's the general approach. I guess that's maybe to Lucy.
I didn't touch any jQuery code yet. I just touched the CSS and the HTML template for the index HTML page. So I am not sure if there's any jQuery to be replaced or something. Maybe for some models or something like that. But as far as I understand, there are some tooltips or some models already used from Bootstrap. So that shouldn't be any change for that, I think. But yeah, I have to figure out yet what is the best way for you guys to integrate Bootstrap if you want to call it from, or pull it from the Bootstrap itself, or include it or something, because now it's just few Bootstrap files I put into my fork directly, but it's not the correct way, I suppose. So I need to figure out with you how you put it in the config stuff and how you would like to have it implemented or integrated.
Does anyone have anything to say to this?
Well, we don't know those subjects. It's hard to tell at this point.
Lucy, did you hear this?
No, not exactly.
Well, Pablo made the point that we don't really know Bootstrap yet, so we don't really know what is correct and what isn't, and what is more convenient or not. I have a slight comment, maybe not a strong observation, but one nonetheless to offer, is that we generally try to ship most of the stuff together with Meet. We try to make it usable even in an environment without internet connectivity. I think we ship jQuery as part of Meet as well. We don't. This has changed.
I think I mean more.
It's in the Debian package.
Yes.
I mean more like how to integrate it into the source.
If you're integrating in the source, then it's just through the NPM mechanisms.
Yeah, because I'm not familiar with NPM, so that's why I did it like I did it, but it's not probably the correct
it's
way.
not complicated. If I understand, everyone can. But
I spoken with George or some guy from Jitsi. And
it was
yeah,
George.
he told me that we should do it through the NPM and stuff.
Yeah, that's not so complicated.
Because the current Bootstrap is, I think, 2 versions late, which is already in Jitsi Meet, which is used for some stuff you use. I don't know exactly what, but that version is also like just hard copy inside.
We hadn't done a very good job at integrating Bootstrap in the first place. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So apparently we have copied some CSS files, and we have put them in the CSS directory specifically for Toaster and Tooltip CSS files. I don't know. Normally we should use something more browserified, like browserify CSS. Now, browserify CSS is not something we would require, because I mean I just searched for 5 minutes on the internet to find the solution how to use CSS from NPM modules. And as we're using Browserify, I thought, okay, well, Browserify CSS makes sense, but we're not using it right now. But if we're going to transition to Bootstrap and make it like first-class citizen inside Beat, it might be interesting to, well, not have the CSS from Bootstrap copied inside the CSS directory. And the problems, I have discussed the problems with the new version of Bootstrap, and it seems that the problem is that with new versions of Bootstrap, the tooltips don't. I mean, you have some tooltips in the toolbar, in the Jitsi toolbar, and with the new version of Bootstrap, they don't. You can make them appear, but they don't disappear, or something like that. But that could be because exactly we have copied the CSS files from the old Bootstrap inside our CSS directory, and so those CSS files are compatible with the new Bootstrap. So if we make a correct transition, to the new Bootstrap and remove all the old CSS files and have them pulled from have the CSS files pulled from the npm module with verified CSS. Maybe this will fix the CSS problems with the tooltips, and we can move to newer version of Bootstrap.
Does that mean that we would want to have the new version of the switch to a proper integration in those CSSs as a precondition to any other integration of Bootstrap?
Well, right now we have a precondition that we cannot move to another Bootstrap version because it breaks our tooltips.
Lucy, which version of Bootstrap are you using for your welcome page changes?
I think it's 3.3.5.
So the question is, should we start the integration from Lucy's branch, or should we fix ours first? And
well, we can't use now we can't use 3.3.5.
We should be able to just quickly work around it by updating the CSS to 3.3.5.
Yeah, we can do that as well.
To 4.
Yeah, I would need to. Yeah, I think we can communicate through GitHub or something and figure it out, or through emails. But yeah, the problem is I am not familiar with npm. We do it in Tiki. We integrate Bootstrap through Composer, so it's a bit a different way.
Well, we don't have to use it. We can just, for the moment, update the CSS files manually and later on see if we can integrate those verified CSS.
But then how would Lucy make his integration?
I'm sorry, but
By copying stuff?
Maybe Lucy could use the old version of Bootstrap. Lucy, would your work be compatible with the version of Bootstrap that we're using? So, like, what we're using now, 3.0.1 or something like that?
I think it's not problem like if you have Bootstrap 3.3.5 or 3.3.1, I can work with that. But if you would make it already like ready in the code tree, I could work with that. But now I had to hard copy it inside. So that's only this integration problem, because I didn't know how to do it through npm.
Yeah.
So if you can somehow prepare it or have Bootstrap integrated properly, then I can use it. I can change the paths and refer to the CSS from Bootstrap.
I think one tool that people often use that sort of defaults to npm but hides it behind the scenes is Bower. I don't know if that conflicts with Browserify at all. I mean, the problem is there's 18 different ways you can do this. You just have to sort of pick one. Another thing to maybe look at is Grunt in terms of the overall building. Instead of using the make file, use Grunt, and then all these tools sort of get integrated into one single flow. Just a thought.
Personally, there's a +1 for either Bower or Grunt, but it will be an even bigger change than trying to integrate properly Bootstrap with npm and in our code, because that means we will have to rewrite the make file. +1, I really like it, and I would like to move to that, but my opinion is that
you could get rid of the make file.
Actually,
is the point, I guess. I actually experimented with that. Maybe I can see how. I don't think I got the full build to work, but I was playing around with it at least to try to see if I could create a Jitsi meet that ran off of Grunt.
Yeah.
What was the result?
I don't know if I completely finished it. I didn't, but let me look back and see what I came up with. If I could maybe put it out there, if people want to take it, and I'll just put it on my personal GitHub. Let me take a look and see where it stands.
I think that would be nice, yeah. Because I don't think anyone objects to moving to another build system that has more features and replace the makefile, but no one has expertise and no one, it's not on the roadmap currently to spend time on it. So if we have something to start with, I think that's a good.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, some of the problem, I was trying to go to some of the standard versions of, I was trying to link in the NPM versions of Strophe and other things, and so I got into a little bit of a mess there. But check, and I'll just put it on the GitHub no matter whether it's working or not.
Someone's. Oh, Mark. Okay. So, Mark, you wanted to do a quick tour of Bootstrap?
Right. So actually, so this would be one of the examples of the benefits of going to Bootstrap. So can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So Bootstrap has a huge ecosystem, and it includes a lot of stuff built in. You just need to use it. But in some cases, when you get towards the some of the more, I guess, unique things or whatever, sometimes it's not in the core, but most of the time it is. Here's an example of something that's not in it, but that's really cool. So this is Bootstrap tour. And you see here when I click, I have this instruction thing, and it says, okay, do I want to go next? So I could see that having something like this would be cool in Jitsi Meet, where you could have the buttons at the top where you could explain what they do, and perhaps have a little sort of intro for the new user to know what's the chat, so it's a little thing to add. And because if you use Bootstrap Tour, it gets automatically all the goodies from Bootstrap, and it gets the theming. So it's very little additional work.
Okay. Yeah, I like the tour feature. Obviously, someone would have to do that at some point, but if you're saying that whoever wants to do that, it would be easier for them if they had Bootstrap already in the project.
Absolutely, and we're implementing a Bootstrap tour in Tiki. So the incremental work for us to also add it in Jitsi Meet is really marginal. So we could take that on, maybe not right away, but in a step 2.
Okay, that's a good argument. So does anyone currently, let's make a decision on Bootstrap right now. Is anyone opposed to using Bootstrap in a proper way as opposed to what we're doing right now? Is there anyone who would like to block the decision so that they would get more time to look into Bootstrap and maybe have a more informed opinion?
I just want to comment on the library that at some point we're going to rework the UI on top of the library. So maybe it's...
Wouldn't that be... I understand your concern. Basically, there would be a bunch of conflicts if we're doing the two.
No, I'm just saying if we postpone it, then we can postpone it until we do the UI on the library, and that's a natural point.
Yeah, no.
But they're currently working on it.
That's agree.
That's why it's a maybe.
I don't think it's very dramatic.
Okay.
You wanted to say something?
Maybe it would be better. So,
So the control.
I do.
Okay. So it sounds like no one is opposing to this, and we're going to, we'll be happy to have your PR guys.
Okay, super.
So thanks again for volunteering for the work. Really appreciate it. All right. Last part of this go open mic. Are there any issues that anyone will want to discuss?
So I have one. I was wondering if it's ever been discussed or is anything that could eventually happen is in the Jitsi client. It's the feature about remote control that works really well. There's just an issue with some key maps. So basically, if we're trying to use Jitsi to remote control and to give our computer control to someone else, they can type, except there's a few keys that don't work, like the backspace, and that makes it difficult to really work, because when you type backspace, it gives you some jumbled characters. So I was wondering if there's any thoughts on how we could solve that.
Well, I think that's basically an issue with the mapping that we use and the backspace over the network. I'm not sure if I have no idea if it would be an issue on the receiving side or on the sending side, or if it's an issue with the translation or anything like that. But basically, someone would have to look into these things and first understand where it comes from. I don't believe that anyone here on the Atlassian team will be looking into that. I don't know about anyone outside the team.
Okay, so
I'll be mentioned in the meeting if you want to revive the thread or just start a new thread on this. That's probably the best.
Well, I'll try to approach some of the people that could be available for consulting and see if someone would want to take it on. I'll try to see if, because it's pretty specific, So there's not a lot of people that could just jump in and fix it. I think it's going to be somebody like Ingo or someone like that.
Well, as a matter of fact, this specific part is fairly isolated. It does not require a lot of knowledge and all the media chain and all that.
Okay.
So this shouldn't be the most Jitsi specific problem that we have.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, for nothing.
Well, no, that's a good pointers. At least I know.
Vinayak says that he has an update to share.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Sort of.
Is it clear now?
I guess. Let's give it a try.
Yeah. The update was like we were working on the Android app, which is talking to the Meet. So with that, we have an app now which is talking to the video bridge, and we are able to make a call with the Android app. So we had issues, and in which I think I was pinging, I think you or George on that, and looks like we were working on 39 and figured out that 39 was not giving ice checks back to the bridge, and later on we shifted to 41 and then we got it working.
Sorry, 39 and 49 are what?
39, the Chrome version, 39.
Oh.
So when we were trying the WebRTC, the native one, the Chrome 39, and the ice checks were getting terminated, stopped with the video bridge, and we were wondering why. And then looks like the Chrome, the WebRTC stack, the 39 version, was not sending the ice checks back.
Okay.
And when we switched to 41, it started sending it, and the call started working.
So you updated the library that you use on Android, or you?
Yes, on the Android. We updated the library on Android.
Okay, that's great. And how about the iOS project? Where are you guys with that?
Yeah, so iOS, what we have done is like since we have taken the Cocoa Pod right now, and with the Cocoa Pod we have integrated whatever the default peer-to-peer was there, and that we have integrated with the XMPP framework, and we are able to make a call with that, and so that is still a login based. So we are working on to make it anonymous. Change so that we can directly work with any meet or whatever the meet default, right? So we're working on that. So if that is done, we should be able to put it out.
That's great. And are you guys also trying to do multi-participant, or are you starting with just one-on-one?
It's 101 plus PSTN, and after that it'll be multi.
Do you think it would be a lot of work to do the multi-participant as well when we contributed? When you contributed?
No, I don't think so. That should be much.
Yeah, it's mostly a GUI issue. So if we get resources to work on the GUI part, but I think Vinayak, you've integrated it with the AppRTC GUI.
Yes. No. Yeah. The default GUI is the AppRTC GUI.
All right.
Just to get it working, and then as we talked about, then we can sort of work collaboratively to try to get a more Jitsi Meet looking GUI for the mobile player.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so hopefully in the next week or two, we should have something to share.
Okay.
I know we said that a few weeks ago, but
We've said the same about simulcast, so we're not going to hold you to that.
yeah.
Right. Anyone else? Okay, so thanks Vinayak and Chris for your update. Thanks very much Mark and Lucy for your Bootstrap walkthrough and for making the case and taking the work. Thanks everyone for joining this call. We will see you again in 2 weeks, and until then, have a great time. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.